And now, it's time for Levack and Goz to answer the question, why?
Tell me why?
Why?
You know, funny thing before you start, part of that, what you just heard, is coming back later in the show.
That's what we call a tease.
Yes, the Nancy Kerrigan part.
Why is... I'm not even going to ask. Okay.
Yeah.
Eli Manning, New York Giants quarterback, has won more playoff games as an underdog than a favorite. Why?
He's a bad man. To be honest with you, don't they usually enter the postseason as an underdog?
Yeah, that can count as an answer. I can buy
they're
that
usually
one.
the wild card. Like the years they made their best runs, they were wild cards.
So you would say it's a skewed stat. That's the reason why he's getting wins. Just because they're an underdog doesn't mean they're a bad football team, but that's just the draw they've been given.
Yeah, the years that they had the best teams, they entered the postseason as wild cards. They caught fire and they took off. That's why.
4.5-point underdog right now to the Green Bay Packers. Take those stats for what it is, but maybe Eli will play better in that underdog role again, going up against Green Bay.
Seems very similar. It does. You got a defense that's playing very well. You're starting to develop some kind of a running game. You've got big plays out of the wide receivers. Yeah, could happen.
2008, right around this time, the Giants made a run. 2012, not 4 years, but 5 years later, we'll see if the Giants can do it again. The Buffalo Bills have not interviewed Tom Coughlin yet. Why?
He's 72 years old. I mean, look, here's the deal. There's certain places that make sense. I don't think Buffalo is one of the places that makes sense. And when you look at who Buffalo is speaking to, they're not looking for a grizzled head coach. They're looking for a young up-and-comer. They're looking for a guy who's going to make his mark in Buffalo, whether it be, Anthony Lynn or, any of these hot coordinator names. They're not looking for a Coughlin.
Marv Levy was 72 when he finished up. Coughlin 70. But Vic
70.
Carucci reporting that Coughlin doesn't seem it's ever going to happen because of Doug Whaley leading the search. I was so wrong about this. It felt like they wanted Coughlin from day one. When he was brought in as the consultant, they wanted to get his take on a certain thing. They had watched Coughlin before in his career build the Jacksonville Jaguars to, 1 win away from the Super Bowl? It all seemed like it made sense to me. Of all these teams that have openings besides Denver, who's won a Super Bowl, Buffalo is right there. I mean, they're a 500 team. They can't get in the AFC playoffs. I'm baffled. I'm not saying give him the job, but at least see if he's interested.
It's not realistic. I think there's only one place he makes sense, and it's only, again, if he brings the heir apparent with him. Like, you know how he works in Buffalo? Let's say they're gung-ho to bring in Anthony Lynn. And Anthony Lynn is like, I want this job, but I know I could use a little more seasoning as the offensive coordinator. And then you bring in Coughlin for 2 years. And everybody knows everything. Everybody's on the level. Tommy, you're here. Make sure everything gets straightened out. You're going to hand the reins over in 2 years. Let's see what we can do.
Make Anthony Lynn the highest paid coordinator in the NFL.
You already had him
done
once,
before with Greg Roman.
But you're still paying Roman, by the way.
You are. And Greg Roman and Anthony Lynn, think Anthony Lynn, 4 months ago, was the running backs coach.
Yeah.
And now he's the hottest coaching candidate. A guy who hadn't called plays, and you love bringing this back to me, but I think about it, he hadn't called plays in a decade.
Right.
And he had success doing it.
And he's already hired allegedly, he's already got his defensive coordinator. It's Gus Bradley. So that's a pretty formidable duo.
It really
I feel pretty
is,
good about that.
The New York Knicks have the second longest losing streak in the NBA. Why?
Lack of defense. Melo's just right now. KP's hurt. Everything's wrong. But the biggest thing for me, the biggest joke is the defense. I mean, I'm not saying you got to play the best defense in the league, but there's only been like 3 or 4 teams they've held under 90 points or under 100 points this
Get
season.
somebody's way.
Right.
Put a hand up.
Go get Grayson Allen, let him trip people. I don't know. Do something.
We have Doug Sherman joining us in a little bit here, but there is something to be brought up about that. Maybe they do need an intense basketball player like Grayson Allen to pride himself on defense. It used to be Joakim Noah who prided himself on defense.
Right.
And Noah probably still does.
He's slipping, but Allen's tripping.
But there's 80% of the team still left. I'm watching the Knicks sometimes. And again, I'm watching these games and thinking, wow, this is exciting. Porzingis is out here, Melo. There's something. then a blow by to the basket, another layup, missed assignment, hand not even going up in somebody's face. It is all about defense. I thought our guy, Kurt Rambis, was going to be able to change it.
Whoa. Our guy? Your guy.
It is my boy.
Yeah, I didn't want nothing to do with Kurt Rambis.
I couldn't stand Kurt Rambis until the moment he was named defensive coordinator by Phil to make him seem like more important for the Knicks.
Which is funny to me because I find him offensive, not defensive.
We'll move on to this one. Back to the NFL. Adam Pac-Man Jones was arrested again. Why?
Because he is a punk. He's just not a good person. Like he's somebody who's been given second chances like 17 times, so he doesn't think the law applies to him. He after he got out, he's like, none of this makes any sense. What? That you got arrested for fighting people and being stupid and taking being inappropriate towards a cop?
There are times in my life where I've made mistakes and thought, okay, that's a mistake.
Yep.
I shouldn't do that ever again. Or
I've learned.
Whatever led me to that, I will no longer do. How many times does it have to happen for somebody to realize you may get arrested, you may lose your job? And for Pac-Man Jones, this is so sad to think about, but has it ever really mattered? I mean, all the poor things that have happened to people involved in some of these arrests, whether it's somebody getting shot, whether it's somebody getting beat up, he's still getting paid by the NFL. He lost 1 year of his career? He's made it back with millions with the Bengals and Cowboys and others.
He tried to brain a wide receiver on the field, and they went, dude, he's a story that needs to go away, in my opinion. You got a lot of good stories in the NFL. Adam Pac-Man Jones is not one of them. He needs to go.
The list has come out for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The finalists were announced. But former St. Louis Ram Torrey Holt was not named one of the finalists. Why?
There is a borderline disrespect for wide receivers when it comes to the NFL Hall of Fame. You think about how long it's taken for several of the big names to get in there, and then you look at the names that still aren't in there. It's not shocking, but it is it's funny because I always stand by it's the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of Stat. I don't know anybody who loves football doesn't know who Torrey Holt is and doesn't respect him as one of the reasons that was the most entertaining and explosive offense I've seen in a very, very long time.
He did it all for that team. He won a Super Bowl as a rookie. When we talk about people who have impacts on rosters, the Rams were terrible. Then they brought on Kurt Warner and they brought on Torrey Holt.
They didn't bring him on. Trent Green got hurt in the preseason. Everyone went, the season's over. Our quarterback was bagging groceries a month ago.
All right, we'll call it pushed it on instead of brought on. Now, somebody's got to suit up. We'll put Kurt out there, and they end up winning the Super Bowl. And you know what? That's really the reason. Kurt Warner's made the finalist list, and Isaac Bruce has made the finalist list. How many greatest show on turf players can you put on one list for the Hall of Fame? If one of these guys, Bruce or Warner, gets in, more than likely Torrey gets on the list next year. And the reason we bring him up is because he was a former guest here on our show, Levack Goz. And another one of our former guests did make the list. Shout out to our guy, Tony Baselli, who could be going to the Hall of Fame this year.
And remember, Baselli said that if Coughlin gets the job, he'll be his offensive line coach.
Look at that. It could be a great year for the big guy. He already has made the College Football Hall of Fame from his time with USC. And we close with this. Mariah Carey's New Year's Eve performance. Why?
Okay, so I watched some of it. So they start playing Emotions.
Great song. Still holds to the test of time.
And clearly she's not prepared for that song. Either hasn't laid the track down for it or is not ready to sing along to it or whatever. So she becomes more and more agitated as the song goes on. Because she's making comments that were, if you're in charge of the board, don't you look at her and be like, give her the shit, like, hey, do you want me to cut it off? Because she clearly wants you to stop playing that.
Emotions, to her credit, came out in 1991. That's 25 years ago. She could have forgot the words.
Well, and not only that, I mean, when's the last time she sang? You know what I mean? Like, let's be honest. When you go to a live show, a lot of that is lip syncing. And then, like, she started lip syncing other songs and she was so frazzled or drunk or whatever, I don't know, that she was blowing those up.
Why is she even there? She's Mariah Carey.
She's a big name, man.
Well, that's the thing. Has her career hit a point where you're like, you know what I got to do? I got to perform on New Year's Eve.
I think so.
No.
Well, that's a big deal, man.
Go do something else. Let the young up-and-coming artists have that platform. We all know who Mariah Carey is. She's got nothing to prove. She's got a reality show to promote.
What looked more fake, Mariah Carey singing or Jenny McCarthy?
Jenny McCarthy singing.
Dude, she looked like a melting Barbie.
Yeah, she's got some stuff going on there.
I don't know, man. I always love it. She's always been one of my favorites, but she was frightening.
If you have 10 number one hits, you're good without New Year's Eve. You can go do other stuff now. Let everybody else do it.
Isn't she doing Vegas or something now?
Good. She's about, what is she, like 55? Good.
What's a good way to promote? You promote that. You show everybody you're still out there. Yeah, no, you still do that stuff.
No, let like Ashley Simpson, Jessica Simpson.
Who?
You remember Ashley Simpson? She did the lip sync thing on SNL, and then she was done.
Oh yeah, no, nobody's calling her. You call Mariah. You go, hey, you want to do New York City?
Let The Weeknd do New Year's Eve.
You want to be the biggest featured thing like usual. You need a big name. You need her.
Why?
Well, never again. I still love that meme. I told you yesterday.
It's hysterical.
Yeah, because it's Ronda Rousey getting punched in the face. I had the worst performance of 2016. Then Urban Meyer going, no, Ohio State had the worst performance of 2016. And underneath this picture of Mariah Carey at New Year's going, hold my beer, I got this. And then you see this too, that like, I don't know if it was before or after that, but footage has just come out. She's in Aspen, and she spent like a ton of cash at a weed dispensary.
Really?
So maybe she was just stoked up. Maybe she just needed...
She's so famous. She lives in her own world, man.
Oh,
she
absolutely.
really does. She just has lost touch with reality.
Nick Cannon is still like jonesing for her back. You know what I mean? Like, please come back, honey. I love you.